Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh wa alhamdulillah. Short reminder that today is the first of Rajab, a sacred month, wa alhamdulillah. So for those who want to get their extra deeds in and different things, some sadaqah, some zakat, any type of good deeds, and try to avoid that which is harmful to our Islam, to our deen. So alhamdulillah, we're going to have a little brief discussion about Salafiyah for the new shahadas, to give you, so that you can get a grasp, and get a firm grip on what Salafiyah is. Okay? And I'm going to say this. As corny as this sound, see, I didn't choose Salafiyah. Salafiyah chose me. You know what I'm saying? So, let's just break this down. And we're going to make this real simple and basic. One, Salafiyah is a minhaj, right? A methodology. Okay? So, what make it important? Why is it, the new rave, the trend? Okay? So, we know that Islam is based off Quran and Sunnah, right? There's a certain way that you're supposed to practice Islam, okay? So Salafiyah is the method that you use to practice Islam. Why is Salafiyah that method? What it make it, I don't want to use the word safest, but when you understand what Salafiyah truly is, right, it brings you to the closest, most purest way of practicing Quran and Sunnah correctly. Now, what's happening is you want to bring it from theory to being practical. Because if, one, you got to know how to follow the Quran. Two, you got to know how to follow the Sunnah. Three, you got to know what the ijma is. Okay? You got to know what the ijma is to claim to be one that says, I follow Quran and Sunnah with the understanding that the Salaf had. Because a lot of things started to happen in the deen. A lot of changes, a lot of bid'ah, just different beliefs that I don't even have to go into. Right? But if you stick to Quran, Sunnah, with the way that it's supposed to be interpreted and understood, then you will be closer to that purest form of Islam. Now, this is a thing. Everybody thinks they do that. Everybody think they follow the Quran. Everybody think they follow the Sunnah. No matter what they are, whatever group they come from. But are they doing it with the proper understanding? So to do it with the proper understanding, that would be labeled as Salafiyah. The problem is, some people have turned the rhetoric, they've turned it into rhetoric. So like I say right now, like I say in my videos, if I go to the Quran, not my own understanding, I go to the Quran, see something, I go to the Hadith to follow up that Quran, right? That Quran ayat. Then I go and look at some Athar and see what the companions thought about it. And then I implement it the way that it was explained in all three, Quran, Sunnah, and Ijma. But because I might not listen to this person, that person will say I'm not Salafi. So due to this mannerism, some people don't really know what Salafiyah is. Because I don't go to this masjid, that means I'm not Salafi. But everything I do is in accordance with Quran, it's in accordance with the Hadiths, and then it's in accordance with how the companions understood it. You understand? So it's just a methodology. It helps you get to the purest form of what Islam came with, but you have to actually practice it. So, and this is alhamdulillah, because y'all knew shahadas. This is what I need y'all to understand, because people starting to take shortcuts. Why do we need Quran and Sunnah when we can just go ask these people of fiqh? Let's just go directly to them. Why do we need Quran and Sunnah, but we're going to use Quran and Sunnah, but we're just going to go to these people, and they may just use the word fiqh, right? We're just going to go to these people of fiqh. And then another group just might say, we're just going to go to the people of the Salaf. My point is this: if you don't get an understanding of your Quran, and then if you don't get an understanding of Hadiths, then anybody could tell you anything and say it came from wherever. And because you so used to accepting being forced to take from whatever these individuals say as haq, they can never make a mistake, from any group, not just Salafis, from any group, right? They could tell you anything. So, and they could call themselves anything. So my point is, you can have some people who feel like they're Salafi because they go to a particular masjid, because they listen to a particular set of people. But when it comes to implementation, they can't tell you if it came from the Quran or the Hadiths or how the Salaf understood it. But they're Salafi because of who they hang around. That's not Salafiyah. Or they Salafi because they heard about the minhaj and they feel like that's the saved sect, so they call themselves Salafi, but they don't know nothing about Salafiyah. So that's why we're going to discuss it a little bit in detail. But that's why I want to make it clear. It's just a methodology of tools that you're using to try to make sure your deen is as accurate as possible. This is not to say that other people who don't refer to themselves as Salafi, but They might be deep in them tafsirs. They might be deep in them hadiths. And they might be deep in them biographies. They might not even never even heard what Salafiyya is. But they're on the methodology. But the crazy part is, they could be on the methodology and never heard of it. They might just be considering themselves, hey, I'm a Sunni Muslim. But because they go to a particular don't go to a particular masjid, or don't listen to a particular group of people, some other people might say that person ain't Salafi. But then they can't even really explain it. They just want, I'm Salafi because I'm distinguishing myself from other Sunnis. So it's not about what you call yourself. And this is with all of it. The Hanafis, the Shafis, so it's just a methodology, man. It's not about who you listen to. It's not about who you hang with. And it's not about what masjid you go to. Because you can be involved in all of that stuff and be off of it. So, let's bring it into a practical matter. And alhamdulillah, like I say, I'm catering to the new shahadas. So I can help y'all, like I said, when you really listen to me and pay close attention to me, I'm really about implementation. So, let's do this right here. Let's do this right here. So you have, in Islam, right? When it comes to the deen, you have belief, right? Then you have speech, right? And then you have actions. Belief, speech, and actions. All of these things have to coincide. Alright? So let me show y'all how you do this. Alright. So up here, just say Salafiyya for who can't read that. Right? So the concept is, let's write it down. Follow, practice, Islam, for the way most people say it, right? The way a lot of us used to hearing it said. With the understanding of the Salaf. Okay? So follow or practice Islam with the understanding of the Salaf. Let me put a Salih on there. Which is the righteous from the Salaf, right? So, I always ask a trick question. Let me lean this back because I can see my head probably not in it. So look, I always ask the trick questions, and I got some of the brothers in here, they know my trick questions from verse 48. When I say, okay, what books do you read to go get those understandings? And people just be like, I mean, these be some hardcore Salafis. What books are you reading to get this understanding? Guess what one word they never say? Biographies. Let me say it again. Biographies. Now, the mistake, that's what's starting to, I'm not going to say a mistake, but because people going to teach one thing in the deen, you have to know your level. So what I see a lot of people teaching is belief of the Salaf, but not necessarily the speech and actions. So they'll scream Aqidah and Creed. So they'll go to particular people from the Salaf. See, this Imam believed that Allah was above his throne. Okay? So this Imam, then this Imam from the past, he also believed that there was punishments in the grave. So they'll spend a whole bunch of time on teaching people that people from the Salaf had these same beliefs. But that same person, they beliefs, what do you know about their actions? See, you want to go from following and practicing Islam with the understanding of the Salaf Salih, not saying that we all agree that Allah is above his throne. That type of dawah is for like when you dealing with somebody that don't have those beliefs. But if a person is already calling themselves Salafi, they already had these beliefs, so why would you have to spend all this time telling them, well, Imam such and such believed Allah was above his throne? We don't have no doubts in that. Technically, that's not following or practicing Islam with the understanding of the Salaf Salih. It got to extend to the speech and actions. So, like, and this is what I'm telling y'all. If we're going to follow in Islam, and I tell y'all this with everything, and I want y'all to keep this mentality. When it comes to Islam, what do I say? When it comes to Dalil, start at the top. When it comes to learning, start at the top. When it comes to the Salaf Salih, start at the top. So just like with y'all, I made sure everybody read their Quran and completely finished it before we went into anything else. Because you gotta know what's really to your Quran. Okay? So when it comes to Dalil, you start with your Quran. Then you move to the next. You start with your hadiths. Now I'm adding principles in, but this is still part of putting implementation on your Quran and Sunnah. Not just believing some of the same things that they believed. So when it comes to the Salaf Salih, where should you start? At the top. Who at the top? Rasulullah. Let's just start with Rasulullah. Rasulullah, did he not have these beliefs? Who had these beliefs better than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Now, because some people say, well, the Rasul was the Rasul, we could never get like the Rasul. Okay, alhamdulillah. That's a fair statement. So who was the next best after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Abu Bakr. Right? Abu Bakr. So, why wouldn't we just go and start studying the life of Abu Bakr? You see what I'm saying? Because you really, I'm not going to say that because there's fake things. I got to be careful. But, so what I did was, that's what I'm going to give y'all. We're going to start with Abu Bakr. I'm going to have y'all read the Sealed Nectar, of course, or like some type of, Sealed Nectar is a good starting off book when it comes to the biography of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay? So, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to bust down not just what Abu Bakr believed, but some of his speech and actions. Because, like I keep trying to say, even when it comes to our belief system, just believing in Allah, but you don't worship Allah the way that He said, then it's empty. Just believing in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but you don't really follow none of His sunnah, then it's empty. You understand? Believing in the revelations, but still feeling like, because they refer to this book as a holy Bible, that you can still follow things from it. I see in this day and time, and I understand why, because I'm gonna touch on it right here. Right now, I'm starting to see more Muslims trying to convince Muslims about Isa alayhi salam, and they try to talk more about Isa alayhi salam than they do Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Not saying that you shouldn't talk about Isa, but it's still, they trying to give Muslims who done already accepted that we accept Isa, but it's like they're trying to tap into the Christianity that's still inside of them. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you don't worry, we ain't left Jesus. And then the thing that where they fall into is, they'll start to reconfirm, or it reaffirms the belief of the stuff that they already believe that's in the Bible. That's falsehood though, because when you compare that to Isa alayhi salam, they don't parallel in totality. But like I said, they're starting to give this, but that's not the dawah for the Muslim, man. Do that with the Christians if you're trying to bring them home. Talk about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And like I said, especially if you're calling yourself Salafi, start at the top. How are you going to say you following Islam with the understanding of the Salaf Salih? Or, I put Islam, but they say Quran and Sunnah. Let me write that down so it'll sound a lot better with my speech. Quran and Sunnah. So if you following Quran and Sunnah with the understanding of the Salaf, how are you going to do that and you don't understand your Quran or the Sunnah? Because you don't know it. You don't know it. Oh, well, I could skip over all of that and just go look at these people from the Salaf. Yeah, but what you going to look at them at? What they believed? As far as Aqidah? But skipping off how you could implement Aqidah in your everyday life? Not saying this shouldn't be done. But I'm saying this is why things is running amok. Salafiyah is a minhaj. This is why certain people think they Salafi because of who they hang with, what masjid they go to and who they listen to, but they can't tell you nothing about Abu Bakr. They can't really tell you nothing about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I'm not talking about historical stuff like what day they was born on, how long did they live, who they was married to, what was the name of their kids. No. Like this. If we're going to follow Quran and Sunnah with the understanding they had, you know what we need to understand? How they gave dawah. Huh? Do we give dawah like they did? We don't know. Because we don't even know how they gave dawah. Do we treat people like they did? Ain't that Quran and Sunnah what they understand it? Do we treat people like they did? I don't know, because I don't really know how they treat people. So all of that, they could just fill in the blanks and just tell you this imam believed that Allah was above his throne. Alhamdulillah. But I already believed that. The Quran told me that. Well, I need to tell you this for a whole hour. Tell me how they gave dawah. Belief, speech, and actions. So, what the Salaf believed would be pretty okay. But see, this is happening because of people level. And then they throw in trickery. And this is why I got this up here before the new brother asked me, what's Jawat Tardil? And I'm going to answer that before we move forward. Because they mingling, they doing a good job, and they coming back with the right questions. What's Jawat Tardil? Because they keep hearing this, Sheikh Rabi was the Imam of Jawat Tardil. But they think, so now they're under the impression that Jawat Tardil is the science of saying who's Salafi and who's not. Because these particular individuals, every time they take somebody off Salafiyah or claim somebody not Salafiyah, they claim that they're using Jawat Tardil. Okay. And then they'll say, Sheikh Rabi was the Imam of Jawat Tardil. So what I'm going to do is, so that's a way of validating them saying they not Salafis, that masjid is not Salafi. Those people ain't Salafi. We don't care what they sell. They spoke to this one, they spoke to that one, they listened to a lecture by that one, therefore they're not Salafi. Because Sheikh Rabi was the Imam of Jawat Tardil, and now we're doing Jawat Tardil. So even just with your basic Google, just put in Jawat Tardil. And I've put it up there because they didn't really know how to spell it. Jarhwa Tardil. Let's see what Jawat Tardil actually is and show y'all the play on words. Was he the Imam of Jawat Tardil? Definitely. Did other people say when it comes to Jawat Tardil, go talk to him? Yes, some scholars definitely said that. But was they referring to deciding who and who is not Salafi? What masjid is or isn't Salafi? Of course not. Jawat Tardil translate to criticism and praise in English and refers to a specific field within Islamic scholarship, particularly in the study of hadith. In the study of hadith. Again, so where scholars analyze the reliability of narrators by assessing their character and accuracy, essentially criticizing those deemed unreliable and praising those considered trustworthy. This is how they go through the isnads of hadiths and see who's in them and who's not. Who it basically decides whether a hadith is weak, da'if. That's what the science of Jawad Ta'dil is. Anybody who know about Sheikh Rabi, right? Sheikh Rabi was not only a teacher at one point in the science of hadith at the University of Medina, he became the head of the department of the Sunnah. Yes, he was an imam of Jawad Ta'dil when it comes to the people that's in the chain of the isnads of hadiths. Dr. Keith, let me grab a book. Like right now, I actually have some books of Jawad Ta'dil. The only place where they teach Jawad Ta'dil is in the College of Hadith. It's for like 2 semesters. Okay? But the wordplay is we can take people on and off Salafiyah based off of this and declare that masjid this, that, and the third and claim that they're using Jawad Ta'dil. It's a play on words. Let me show y'all something. Inshallah. Daqeeq. Okay. So I had to get a hadith book out, right? When you get to your book of hadith and your sciences, it lets you know, right? There are over 80 topics related to hadiths. Okay? Over 80 topics. I'm going to read y'all topic number, I want to say 75. Oh, wait a minute, that's 57. Let me pause in 1 second so it don't get too long while I pull it up. 1 second. Okay, let me show y'all something. So I'm going to read 66. So this is about people in the chains and narrators. One point in number 66 is knowing the dates of birth and their death. Because by knowing this, then they can look at a hadith and say, okay, this person couldn't have got this narration from him because they didn't even live at the same time. This one lived way over here. This one lived way over here. And they never traveled, so they never crossed paths. Right? Number 68. Trustworthy narrators whose narrations became jumbled at the end of their lives. Their narrations are accepted before this, but not after. So knowing all of this and knowing how to go through the isnads and knowing all them, Sheikh Rabi was the imam of that. Now, like when you see now, you will see certain people, this be a Sahih Hadith, and then somebody will come along and weaken it. And then somebody else may come along where they weakened it and then re-strengthened it. So one of the reasons why some of this happened, I'm just saying, I'm giving one reason. From what I read from point number 68, there was narrators who was young. Y'all have to understand, some of these guys was scholars by the age of 20, 17, 18. Super duper strong from like the age, I'm just throwing just age numbers out there. They were super duper strong from the age of 20 all the way up to the age of 70. So then by the time they got to around the age of 70, and then their memorization and stuff started getting a little weak, and they started getting a little jumbled and may mix some hadiths or may mix some isnad with hadiths. But when they got to that age, now they wasn't considered reliable. So because some got weak by the time they was like 73, But they were strong all the way up from the age of 22, 73. So because their name might be in a hadith, people will come grab that whole hadith and say this weak, this hadith is weak because his name is in the isnad. Okay? So when it came to that science, Sheikh Rabi was one of the coldest at doing it. Not deciding who's Salafi, who not Salafi, what masjid is not Salafi. And see, like I said, because people, they trying to use these terms, you have people who never even been an official real student calling themselves refuting scholars. Refuting scholars that other scholars not even refuting. This is dangerous. This is dangerous. So now we finna get into this. And I want to speak on something like the brother was saying, where we're going through these biographies, and it was this Jewish guy who accepted Islam with Rasulullah. So when the Rasul and them came to Medina, he was like, don't tell them that I accepted Islam yet. Just ask them about my character before you let them know I'm Muslim. He said, because if you tell them that I'm Muslim before you, they're going to automatically slander me. So they went up and asked the people, what y'all know about this and this? Oh man, he one of the greatest people, you know, he this, he kind, he this, that, and the third. Well, how would you feel about him if he accepted Islam? They was like, man, may Allah protect him and his family from that. Oh, okay, well, he became Muslim. Then all of a sudden, immediately, he was the worst person on the earth. So this was a characteristic, this was one of the qualities, because the guy was a Jew. This was some of the characteristics and one of the qualities of the Jews. So he was going into how some of our brothers from Salafiyah have fell into this. We've been best friends for 10 years. We done had your lectures up for 2 years benefiting from them. Now we mad at you. Now you the worst thing since sliced bread. You ain't never been knowledgeable. Get rid of all your lectures that we've been benefiting from for 2 years. But the problem is, like he said, that really just make them look bad because you've been following up, benefiting from this person for 2 years. It took you 2 years to realize he wasn't knowledgeable? No, you just saying that because he probably was writing something and you was wrong. Just like this characteristic that slipped into us from the Jewish counterparts. And what these is the things when the Quran is say be opposite of the disbelievers. This is things that we supposed to differ in them in. You know what I'm saying? Because we supposed to keep our honor up. But the thing is this. You have some people who think doing that is from the science of Jawat Tardil. When we get into this biography, it's going to make more sense. This is an era. And then for people who understand where it comes from, when they listen to this and see this behavior, we able to look at it and be like, that ain't what Jawat Tardil is. When they refer to Sheikh Rabi as being the Imam of Jawat Tardil, that's not what they was talking about. You see what I'm saying? But anyway, you gotta know your level, man. So you know what we seeing, people doing good and telling people what they need to believe, but the mannerism and stuff that they supposed to get, they're leaving off. They filling in the blanks as they go. So we finna start to delve into the life of Abu Bakr just a little bit, briefly. Because this is still basic, y'all. We moving y'all up, inshallah ta'ala. So I got the word apostate, right? So an apostate is a person who renounces, which basically means abandon a religious belief or a principle, right? So let's say you Muslim and you say, well, I don't have to pray 5 times. I can only pray when I wake up. I only have to pray 3 times a day. I'm not putting you in apostate. Or we don't have to pray, but when Ramadan comes, if I pray during Ramadan and stand up for Taraweeh, then that makes up for all the prayers I missed. Basically, you done fell into some apostasy because you done abandoned some religious principle and belief, because you don't believe you had to pray 5 times. I prayed 3 times. But I'm not calling nobody apostate. I'm just giving an example, and you will understand it even more once we talk about Abu Bakr. Then you have what's called a Zindiq, and this is what a lot of the African Americans that I know, we fall into Zindiq culture heavily. So Zindiq is a heretic, right? A heretic is described as a person who holds beliefs and opinions that's contrary to the deen of Islam, right? A heretic, or instead of saying heretic, a person who holds beliefs and opinions contrary to the deen of Islam, but who is extremely religious. They love Allah. They think Allah crazy about them. But at the same time, they hold beliefs and opinions that's contrary to what Allah and His Messenger came with. But they consider themselves to be extremely religious, but also an infidel to Islam. So what's a Zindiq? Basically, to bring it down into basic terms, you're a Muslim, but you still hold the beliefs of whatever it was before you became Muslim. So a lot of us was Christians. So a lot of stuff that we learned from Christianity, i.e. pagan holidays, we can't let it go, and we think that we can still do it. Or intoxicants, right? Different things like that, right? So, but we feel like we're extremely religious, but we got a bunch of Christian beliefs. We believe when somebody passed away, just because it may have been our mother, our father, our cousin, our best friend, a baby that passed away, it's usually something like that. Like especially like a young child or somebody that was brutally just taken away in a very bad fashion, a type of death that caught us off guard. We automatically say they in heaven. And then some of the worst of us start saying these people is looking over us because we got this stuff from Christianity. It's real popular beliefs that have obituaries with angel wings and stuff up on them. And I'm going to be honest. I done seen Muslims that had passed away and they put them on an obituary with clouds and blue skies and put angel wings over them. And they was Muslim. So that's basically being a Zindiq. You're a Muslim with some Christian beliefs. You're a Muslim, but you can't get rid of your Nation of Islam beliefs. Like Allah and the Messenger could say, no one to truly have faith, or you really not going to have real iman until you love Allah and His Messenger more than anybody else. But your belief is you need to love Elijah Muhammad more than Prophet Muhammad. That's being a Zindiq. But you might feel like you're an extremely religious Muslim, but you have beliefs that's contrary to the Deen of Islam. Love somebody that was up on shirt more than Prophet Muhammad. So it can happen in a lot of different ways. So this is important, because when you're going to be up on the minhaj, you have to learn how to get rid of these things. You might not consider yourself a Zindiq or an apostate. So let me get this real quick. So this from the biography of Abu Bakr Siddiq, right? So what I want to touch on is a thing. Alhamdulillah, after I went through my minhaj and stuff, and really started to learn what Salafia Minhaj really was and what Salafia was, this was around maybe 2010, 2011, right? I started to see a change in the Muslim Ummah. Okay? Maybe closer to 2012. And I felt like the Muslims started going backwards. Because a lot of fighting, a lot of bickering, I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know which way to turn. So now my Salafiyah kicks in. I knew that Abu Bakr was the first to deal with the Muslims going left. The Muslims going left. Okay? So they referred to him as the Apostate Wars. So I said, let me get his biography and see how he dealt with it, so that I can get from the Minhaj and implement some of what he implemented that's within the realms of my permissibility. Because I wasn't like the leader, I wasn't like the Khalifa, so I couldn't just run around putting knuckles on people or implementing certain things from the Sharia. You know what I'm saying? So I had to look at it from the point of view of just of a constituent of these Muslims that's going left. So Abu Bakr, they had what was called the Apostate Wars. So right up there, the reason why I put apostates, I'm going to show why he declared them apostates. Matter of fact, let me read a little bit of that first, right? So al-Riddah or apostasy basically means the exit from the fold of Islam after first having been a Muslim. But apostasy is not a light matter. It's not a small thing to call a Muslim apostate or a disbeliever. It is in fact a very grave sin to call a Muslim an apostate or a disbeliever. Therefore, one needs to be very careful regarding the matter. Okay, like if you're wrong. But if they're an apostate, they're an apostate. Right? If they are a disbeliever, they're a disbeliever. So you had to be careful. One needs to be certain that someone has, in fact, exited from the fold of Islam before calling him an apostate or a disbeliever. Sadly, some Muslims today are quick to pounce on the faults of other Muslims, claiming that because of their sins, they have exited from the fold of Islam, when that is not really the case. So now the slick way of doing it, instead of saying you're an apostate, instead of saying you're a kafir, we'll say you're not Salafi. And then treat you like a kafir. Treat you like an apostate. You're not Hanafi. You're not Tablighi. You're not Ashari. And then treat you like an apostate or a kafir. So they're doing the exact same thing, but they think they found a loophole. We're going to treat you like one. So we're going to say one thing out of our mouth to justify it. You're not Salafi. So now I got to come up with a justification for why you're not Salafi. You went to that masjid that we don't like. So therefore now I can treat you like you're not Muslim. Same thing. And all the groups do it. But we not going to do it. Inshallah ta'ala. So look, it is because of this problem the scholars have given very precise and detailed definitions of the word al-Riddah. For example, Imam an-Nawawi, which is Ashari, okay, but all the Asharis ain't the same, gave the following definition. It is to cut oneself off from Islam either by intention, okay, by action, okay, or by word of disbelief, regardless of whether one utters the words believing in it out of a sense of stubbornness or for the purposes of mocking. So you could still be calling yourself Muslim and be an apostate. But it continues, right? A person has disbelieved if he rejects the creator or the messenger or disbelieve in the messenger. If he deems lawful something that is forbidden through ijma. Okay? Some people make having boyfriends and girlfriends permissible as long as you top bleaking them, i.e. giving them dower. Okay? So as long as if you deem something lawful that is forbidden, intoxicants, anything that intoxicate the mind is a karma. I mean, it's karma. Chiefing, pills, right? And it even say right here, something that is forbidden through ijma, such as fornication, or that's making boyfriends and girlfriends permissible, or the opposite, right? And if it's deemed forbidden, something that is lawful through ijma. If he rejects that through ijma, it's compulsory in the religion, or vice versa. And if he makes a firm intention in disbelief, or even if he's thinking about disbelieving, he's wavering. This is where you can become apostate. Okay? These people decided not to pay zakat the way it was supposed to be paid. Some of them said we ain't paying at all, and then some of them said we gonna pay, but not what we was paying when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was alive. What did Abu Bakr declare them? Apostates. Was they still Muslim? Yeah. Was they still making salat? Yeah. Was they still fasting for Ramadan? Yes. But they didn't pay zakat properly. That's why I say the dangers of it, because unfortunately, I know more Muslims that haven't paid zakat properly than Muslims that I know that have paid zakat properly. Or at all. Or at all. Zakat al-Fitr, all of that. Now keep, 1 second. 1 second. Because I want to show y'all something. And then these people want to push y'all to all this fiqh and this and that. I'm not knocking fiqh. But like I say, there's things in there that contradict the sunnah. Let me show y'all something. This right here is a real sock. Okay? So for zakat al-Fitr, look, just to give y'all an example, I could put both of my hands in here, right? It won't show. Hold on, let me move this like this. I could put both of my hands in here. Okay, look, ball up my fist. It's still a whole bunch of room, and it comes way above my wrist. It come all the way up to here. Okay, look, let me see with my fingers. It comes to here, right where my fist unballed. During Eid al-Fitr, they would give a sah of food. Now your masjid might replace that and have everybody give money. And then they have you give $6 to pay your zakat al-Fitr. $6, maybe even 10, depending on what you buy, isn't going to fill up a sah. Okay? You might have to cook about two, 3 bags of rice just to fill this up to the top with rice. But like I say, depending on what's bought, now I guess $6 you could get enough rice. But the thing that you have to understand is, it's staple food of the people. It's food from what they eat and from what you would eat. Some of us who urban, we don't eat a lot of some of these things that they ate where there was. But I ain't gonna get into that. But what I'm saying is, if you're not careful and you let some other people decide, your obligation might not get fulfilled. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. From why you have to be careful, and some of us have not paid zakat properly ever. Okay? And some of us feel like that's good because, like, I know some people. And then they come up with these rulings and try to say, if you had all these cows and you had this many sheep, then that would equal $5,000. So if you don't have $5,000 saved up for 1 year, you don't have to pay zakat. Because they're trying to calculate zakat based off of sheep, when there was zakat off cash money. So they're happy with, I only got to give $6, $10 per family member. But on a zakat that's supposed to be food. Alhamdulillah. So it comes into showing what an apostate is. So now we're going to discuss what made these people apostate. And this really apply to us. When it comes to following with the understanding that the Salaf had a solid, we need to go dig into their lives, and then we might realize some of what they was against apply to us. Look at this right here. So the people who apostated after the passing of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did so for various reasons. And this helped me so much. You know what I'm saying? Like, I done highlighted, I got underlined under it, I took notes. Because like I said, I needed to learn how to deal with it. So for various reasons, even though it is true that the Rasul passing was the main cause of all of their apostasy. You know, they were saying stuff like the Rasul gone. So like right now, in these times, what you'll see people is like, they don't say the Rasul passed, we accept him as a prophet, but we don't need his sunnah. All we need is the Quran. We don't have to look at the sunnah. We could just go ask this person to fiqh. We don't need hadiths. Just read this book from the madhabs. Okay? Okay? So, was the main cause of all their apostasy. Various groups among them had other underlying reasons why they apostatized. So the Rasul death simply acted as a trigger to set off their disbelief. For some, it was what I got right here, number 1. Weakness of faith. They had weak faith and a lack of understanding of religious texts. Then there was a lack of knowledge, a lack of real knowledge, because some of them can quote the religious texts. Some of them pretty good at saying this, Kida, but they lack the real understanding of those texts. So this led to them apostatizing. But keep in mind, some of them were still calling themselves Muslims. They just started to abandon certain religious duties and certain principles. In Islam, that can make you an apostate. It don't mean you saying, hey, I'm not Muslim anymore. Okay? Certain things that's unlawful, you make them lawful. And then certain things that's lawful, you make unlawful. It don't just mean you left Islam. Let's say, for instance, with females that believe that they don't have to cover, or they make up their own thing for covering when they done rejected an Islamic principle. I'm not calling them an apostate, but these are examples. Right? Number 2, a deep-seated love of pre-Islamic practices. So, like I said, a lot of us loved what came from Christianity. And we felt like it made us love God. We just didn't believe that Jesus was God. So we kept those beliefs and just said, I believe in Allah, but I'm going to keep this stuff that I learned from Christianity because it doesn't take any actions. I ain't gotta pray 5 times. I ain't gotta fast for Ramadan. I ain't gotta make Hajj. I ain't got to give away my money for zakat. I ain't gotta do none of this stuff. Christianity is easy. I just kept the Christian belief system, but just took away Jesus' God part. That's Zindiqs. So they had a deep-seated love for the pre-Islamic practices, celebrating pagan holidays. I could go on and on. The drinking, the clubbing. Number 3, tribal loyalties. They wanted to stay loyal to their tribe. It was certain things that they felt like went against, certain things in the deen went against what they tribe believed. So in our day and time, tribal loyalties is our gang ties, is our family ties, because their tribe was their family. So we sticking to certain things with our family, staying loyal to them or staying loyal to our gang, and we apostatizing in certain things in the deen. Ambitious, greedy, and power hungry. Because the deen humbles you. The deen stop you from being corrupt and stealing money from people or coming up with different things, and you coming up off the back of the Muslims, but you really not servicing the Muslims. You want to be their leader so you can eat off of them. And I'm saying this because it's written more in here, but I'm just doing it for the sake of time. About how they wanted to get rich. The Muslims, by this time, through the wars and war booties and stuff that they came, if I could become the leader of the command of the army, and we go win this war, I get the first choice of all these treasures we done took. You know, I can do I ain't gonna continue, but some of this led to them being apostates. Now keep in mind, this doesn't mean they completely left Islam. They just still call themselves Muslim, but they abandoned certain religious beliefs and principles that told them they couldn't do the stuff that they wanted to keep doing. And then number 5, because of the dawah and manners of other groups. Just like right now, how people leaving Salafiyah and becoming Ashari, some people becoming Sufi or Deobandi because of the dawah and the manners of those other people. Some people leaving and going becoming Hebrew Israelites. Some people going back to the Nation of Islam. I know some. I know some who went back, who didn't go back, but left Islam and became a Moorish American. Because they felt like they was nicer to them. They was involved in something that was more black. Islam was too much about Arab people. So the dawah, because of the dawah and the mannerism of other groups. But when you look at this, a lot of it still tie into number 1. They had weak faith to begin with, and they lacked real understanding of the Quran and the Sunnah. They didn't understand the text, and then they didn't have real knowledge. They just had speech and rhetoric. They didn't have no implementation. A bunch of lip service. You know what I'm saying? So all of these fall into number 1. And I'm telling you, a lot of the Muslims, man, that I see that have issues, even looking at myself, like I'm telling y'all, wallahi, I had to get this book to see how to deal with it within myself and everything that was going on around me, because I know we can easily become a product of our environment. And sometimes when you can't change the environment, you have to change yourself. And I tried everything I could to change the environment. I tried to get everybody to deen it. Man, let's start living like we live in Medina. You know what I'm saying? If we start living our life like the Rasul Allah can come over and knock on our door, let's start living like that. They didn't want to hear that. So, cool, alhamdulillah, I just do it myself. But I did want the environment to improve. because I know what real Islam does for us. So these things is what led to the apostates and people falling into being a Zindiq. So as you look through the life of Abu Bakr, how did he deal with this, right? What were some of his characteristics? But to be one thing that we can learn from this, because this is referring to the Salaf. These is Abu Bakr was the first person that had to deal with these Muslims. He actually had to go to war with them. Some of them even tried to take over Medina. Okay? But he got a firm hold back up on it. But what you learn from this is what? When it comes to following Quran and Sunnah with the understanding, one thing we got to do is we got to clean up what we have in us to stay away from that. And see, one thing about us, we start to turn our dawah groups into gang culture. You know what I'm saying? Like a sister who, it was a sister I'm a wakil for, right? She gave me a jewel, man, that made me understand something. So she got, you know, she was on that side. They talked her into marrying this older brother. You know, she like 20. He was like 43. She was like 22, 23. He was like 20 years older than her. Not knocking the age. You know, had been locked up, did a lot of time. So, you know, he one of their guys. So they got something set up for him when he come home. She ain't got no kids, no nothing. They have her. She didn't even want to marry him, but they all kind of pressured her. The sisters, he could teach you deen, but all he knew how to do was recite. And Salaf, the way of the Salaf, the way of the Salaf. Right? So long story short, she married him. They moved to Atlanta because at the time that masjid was still Salafi. It is still Salafi. It's just not Salafi to them for whatever. I know the reasons, but anyway. So boom, she get into the marriage with him. Next thing you know, she got a sexually transmitted disease that won't go away. Brother, why ain't you say something? Then she get to calling around to some of them sisters and stuff that pressured her. Man, this dude done gave me this, and this. And they was like, oh, we just figured you already had it because you married him. What? Yeah, that's why we ain't say nothing. We figured you knew. So we figured if you was marrying him, you must have already had it too. So, you know, you get to talking to the brothers and the wakil. Why y'all didn't tell me this and y'all knew this about that brother? We thought he told you. That wasn't really our business. But you're her wakil. But see, he's your friend, see. So now that she popped off, and then when, you know, he tell her, I figured you wouldn't marry me, and I figured we was going to be together for life anyway, so now you can't leave. Now you got to stay. Okay? They have a few kids. He home. The next thing you know, he on drugs. He's a drug addict also. Man, why y'all ain't tell me dude was on drugs? Oh man, we figured prison cleaned him up. So I'm getting to a point. They end up having to go through divorce. Then of course once the drugs came in, the abuse came in. You know what I'm saying? Put whips all, beat her with a flip-flop. You know what I'm saying? Shower shoes. To where she had whips around her whole entire body was covered with whips. Feet and everything. Right? But then when a divorce happened, now they got a few kids. He's not going to do nothing for none of the kids till this day. But because of what's been put in her head, you can only marry from in this group. You can only listen to people from in this group. And you can only go to these masjids. And then on top of that, you got a package. So now you got to find somebody else who got that same package, that same sexually transmitted disease, for y'all to be together. But trying to stay within that group, and it's like, but you keep experiencing the exact same thing in that group. Won't you step on, you know what I'm saying? And they told me, the jewel they gave me was, the thing about the men in this group is it plays into the mind of the women that like the bad guys. This is still like, women like bad guys. They still like the street guys, just Muslim. And we're, we come from that element, so it's like we're still getting that element within Islam. I'm too, you know what I'm saying? And this is what they really told me. I'm too dirty to step outside of this group. Ain't none of them gonna want to deal with me. You know what I'm saying? I barely know how to pray. You know what I'm saying? But that jewel that she gave me, and that, to me, it just plays into that tribalism thing. It's gang culture. You basically got the gang banging, dope dealing Muslim within your group, and you the girl who chased the dope dealing gang banger women beaters. You know what I'm saying? So my whole point is, when you go look at this and see, this is what made some of them fall into being apostates. Not completely leaving Islam. Not paying zakat properly, just like a lot of us. We don't pay zakat properly because either a lack of understanding of the text, or we had a knowledge but it's not real. We know how to say, you gotta pay zakat, or the one who doesn't pay zakat. So we can sound like we know what we're talking about, but we don't really understand the real text about it. So we've fallen into forms of apostates. We got a deep-seated love for what we was before we became Muslim. We can't give up birthdays. We can't give up the clubs. We can't give up the drinking and the smoking and the hustling in the streets. We can't give up the weave and the eyelashes, the lipsticks and perfume and form-fitting clothing. Because we loved it from before we became Muslim. So we're going to reject certain principles and we're going to come up with a justification and make it okay. And at the same time, we're going to call ourselves Salafi. You know what I'm saying? We're going to call ourselves Salafi. We ain't going to respect our wives. Women ain't going to respect their husbands. I see a lot. I know I be feeling bad for certain brothers, man, because they got wives, man, that don't even respect them an inkling. They really don't, man. And to me, when a woman doesn't respect a man, it say a whole lot to me. You know what I'm saying? It say a whole lot to me, man. In the Muslim community. And then when I see, and it's not to be judgmental, it's just from knowing certain things in the deen. When you see a person like myself, wallahi, I'm not trying to be braggadocious. I'm not speaking from that point. But everybody who ever been around me in a relationship, even if we was friends, everybody that was around me became Muslim. Now, whether they stayed Muslim after we wasn't around each other for years, that ain't always the case. But everybody accepted Islam that was around me. In relationships, everything. Even when I didn't even know how to be Muslim. Because Islam practices a certain type of way, the people in your life gravitate to it. So when I see Muslims that be married to like a non-Muslim woman for 10 years and she don't never accept Islam, something not right in the house. Or when I see a sister who has so-called Islamic issues and a brother think they super duper strong and then she never adopts Islamic culture, something not right. And she disrespect him on top of that, something not right Islamically. And I'm only saying that because of what Allah tells us in the deen. You know what I'm saying? Y'all done became some type of a test for each other. Is you gonna choose Allah, or is you gonna choose her? Or with her, is you gonna choose Allah, or is you gonna choose him? You know what I'm saying? So it's just unfortunate, man. But like I say, when you look at it, so we going back to the Salaf, and you got to look at both sides, where they went right, where they went wrong. And these were some of the main things that was listed in where they went wrong at, man. Weak faith, lack of understanding religious texts, or lack of real knowledge, deep-seated love for whatever they had going on before they became Muslim. Their little family, their little tribal loyalties, family loyalty, gang loyalty, street ties, they little clique, whoever they hustle with. They didn't want to look like for instance, they might want to wear thobes and stuff, right? But they still hang with them, so they feel like a goofy when they're around the street guys and thobes and all that. Or they have to make the thobe look like it's part of the gang stuff. So they got to be in a thobe drinking Hennessy and chiefing and making it look cool. You know what I'm saying? Which this is a walking contradiction. So you'll start to see some of these things, man. So for the ones who want to be on the right side of history, following Quran and Sunnah, because Quran and Sunnah came to do away with these things. So if you want to follow Quran and Sunnah with the understanding of the Salaf Salih, you have to do away with these things. They was drinkers too. They kicked it. They had fun. You know what I'm saying? They had girls. They was soldiers. You know what I'm saying? Some of them was robbers. You know, look at Umar. Umar used to beat and persecute and put the boobs on Muslims before he accepted the deen. Him and Khalid bin Walid. You know what I'm saying? Even dirt napped some Muslims before they became Muslim, man. You know? So this is just that, man. So I'm gonna wrap it up, man, because it didn't went too long. But Jawad Ta'dil is not the science of taking people off Salafiyah and, you know, just finding people like I just feel bad, man, for certain people wasting their time, man, where it's like people trying to refute scholars and they not even a scholar, but it be like scholars that people never even heard of or they don't even know already. You know what I'm saying? Like, just to hear some people who knew Muslims, man, and they don't even know that the pillars of Salat yet, but they sitting around with some other people arguing over Yahya Hajuri. You don't even know him. He way on the other side. He way in Yemen. He gonna get what he got coming. You wouldn't even never heard his name, but now you sitting up here arguing about him and some foolishness about who a prophet would have been after all that. Man, go learn your deen, man. Quit sitting around arguing over who you need to hate, who this, and they people you ain't even gonna never even see in your life. You might never even see them in your life. Some of them don't even be in this country. And then you caught up with some people and then they twisting stuff up talking about they doing Jawata deal, and they not even a scholar. Not even close. But because people call them Sheikh and they got a bunch of people under their thumb, they think they level with something else, man. And they busying you with this and that. You got all this right here. You done learned about 10 imams all believe that Allah was above their throne. But you don't know nothing about the life of Abu Bakr and what you need to take from him in implementation. Which, as we going to continue on, like I said, this is just an intro into this. When you look at what Abu Bakr did while he was the Khalifa, I'm going to give one short story. Abu Bakr used to dip off while he was the Khalifa. And you know, Umar used to always want to compete with him and keep up with him. Compete with him in good deeds. So he seen Abu Bakr was dipping off, and then he seen that Abu Bakr was going to this woman house. But you know, he didn't ask him about it, but you know, at the same time, I was like, man, what are you doing going over to that woman house? Okay? I want y'all to understand something about this too, because people have misconceptions about different things. So, anyway, when Abu Bakr passed away, Umar went to the house to see, you know, what's to this woman? What's up over here? So when he got to the house, he went. Matter of fact, he did. I'm messing the story up because I'm paraphrasing, but he did go watch, and he seen that Abu Bakr was like cleaning her house and stuff and cooking for her. You know, but it's extremely innocent. I'm being careful because I don't want to sit up and say being alone with a woman, you know, because some people, Abu Bakr over there alone with a woman, he's there with the shaitan and yada yada yada. Having a friend ain't permissible. You know, some of this stuff, man, that people don't understand some of what they be talking about because they full of rhetoric. They lack understanding of religious texts. So anyway, when Abu Bakr passed away, Umar started to go over there and do some of the stuff that he seen Abu Bakr doing. So I guess after like a couple of days or something like that, the lady said to him, your friend must have died. So now Umar like, well, how did you know? And then she was like, because he would do this way, and now you doing it like this, so I know you're not the same person. You know what I'm saying? So those was the type of things. Like but he had a good understanding of Quran and Sunnah that he was doing that. You know what I'm saying? We don't have that. We don't, because that's from the actions of the Salaf Salih. But we can sit down and say, Abu Bakr believed that Allah was above his throne, so we believe it too. Let's sit up here and let me talk to you about a whole hour about Abu Bakr believed Allah had hands, so we also believe Allah had hands. We already know that. But let's talk about the stuff that Abu Bakr did that we need to do. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we're getting into. And we starting from, I'm finna give y'all a tool. I mean, not a tool, but I'm gonna give y'all a jewel. This stuff right here is from a form of purifying your nafs. So at the same time while I'm talking to y'all, I'm giving y'all one of the aspects of tahara. Not just purifying yourself with water, this and that. You got to take a sponge and squeeze all of this out. Because this is what led to some forms of apostasy in the Muslims and being Zindiqs. You see what I'm saying? And being a Zindiq. Yeah. So when you with Tahara, you gotta clean your heart too, man. You gotta clean up your nafs. You understand? You gotta clean up your nafs. Just like I could say with me, because of tribalism and deep-seated loves for certain Islamic practices, like I said, I done been it. I wouldn't celebrate Christmas. I wouldn't celebrate Thanksgiving, right? But I would do stuff on the 4th of July. Spend money on fireworks and all that. So the kids can be happy. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It was certain things because I didn't want to give up. Go get all type of meat and throw it on the grill for the 4th of July. I ain't celebrating. I'm just kicking it. I sure didn't do it on July the 3rd. I sure ain't do it on July the 5th. You know, so I see certain Muslims doing the same things with Juneteenth because it's tying into a form of tribalism because that's for the black people. Kwanzaa, you know, that's for the black people. It got good principles. You know what I'm saying? But we still holding on to it. And because of dawah, just like how because of dawah from other people and their mannerism, I fell off into being a 5%er. You know what I'm saying? I fell off into being a 5%er. So, like I said, I looked into this. I had to get some things together for me and my environment. Because all of this I fell into was me being victim of the environment that I was in. So I had to create a healthy Islamic environment for me, even if I have to be the only person in it. You know what I'm saying? That's how you follow Quran and Sunnah, with the understanding of the Salaf as-Salih, not just in belief. It gotta be speech and actions also. You're not finna talk me to death for 20 years about what they believed and I already know it. I don't have to get a new book every year about the belief that Allah is above His throne. That's in the Quran. That's in Hadiths. You really don't have to go fast tafsirs and Hadiths for a lot of this stuff. Let me close on this. Let me show y'all something. One example, real quick. Just to show you what I'm talking about. Look at this. Look at the Salaf as-Salih. Right? Narrated, now this Sahih Bakr. Narrated Muhammad bin Ibrahim bin al-Harith from Abu Salma bin Abdul Rahman, who had a dispute with some people over a piece of land. So he went to Aisha. Now this is after Rasulullah. May Allah be pleased with her and have mercy on her, right? And he told her about the dispute. Aisha said, "O Abu Salama." So this is a man going to Aisha to speak. None of that, they can't be friends. Oh, the shaitan is there because he asking a question. Because people have too much rhetoric. So she said, "O Abu Salama, avoid that land. For Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, any person who takes even a handspan of land from somebody unjustly, his neck shall be encircled with 7 earths on the day of resurrection." What do we take from that? What do we take from this powerful athar? One, he was disputing with somebody where he felt like he was just gonna take it. He felt like he was the one being unjust though. But he couldn't go to the Rasul, so he went to Aisha. And what Aisha did, she automatically hit him with the Sunnah. That's the way of the Salaf. You have people who right now say you can't get fiqh from this book. You can't get a fiqh ruling when that's a fiqh ruling right there. But you might go to somewhere in a book of fiqh, or somebody telling you it's fiqh or a particular thing, and they might would have told you something to be that's unjust. Not saying there's some unjust things in fiqh. I'm saying that for somebody to come up and say that that's what I'm trying to say. But there are some things that's contrary. So then it goes to the hadith from narrated by Salim's father. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, any person who takes a piece of land unjustly will sink down the 7 earths on the day of resurrection. Right? So then there's one more about another person who got into a land dispute and the woman had to sue him. Paraphrasing it for time. So he had to say, he said to himself, how should I deprive her of her right? I testify that I heard Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, if anyone takes a span of land unjustly, his neck will be encircled with 7 earths on the day of resurrection. So right there, we can look at the Salaf as-Salih. Then we can look at the chain of narrators. And for the simple fact that it's in here, there's ijma that they agreed on this, and this is what they acted upon. So, but you could get more than that. Soon as something going on, what do? This is what I feel like you should do. They didn't do that. They went straight to the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they acted on it. Some of us don't do that. Some of us, when we in the wrong, we twist up the deen and justify it and say stuff like, well, we just on Jawat deal. I took them off of it so I could mistreat them and take that. I'm not doing them unjust. That technically they not in the fold of this and that. They not Ashari. They not Salafi. They not Hanafi. They not Tablighi. But that ain't the way of the Salaf as-Salih. So even when you look at that with the 7 earths, what's the deal for that? When you go to ayat number 65, stock for the loss, surah number 65, ayat number 12, where it refers to how Allah created 7 heavens, right? But then he also created 7 earths. So it's funny because there's some different things and differences about where those 7 earths are. But all you got to do is go to hadiths. All you got to do is go to tafsirs. And so with that hadith, it's saying basically those 7 earths gonna be tied around your neck, almost like a noose. And it's saying you're going to sink down into the 7 earths. Basically, man, you're not going to escape it. They're going to yoke you up by your throat, B. You know what I'm saying? So, this is an introduction. We're going to get more clear. We're going to get more firmer because I got to leave some of it for y'all own reading and research. So, it's going to seem like I'm talking in circles. But, Salafiyya is a minhaj. And when you really apply it, it gives you your best chances of implementing Islam properly. You see what I'm saying? And just to keep it Dougie, because like I say, I don't want people to keep selling it like it's some magic beans. Just like other groups, and then they throwing around this rhetoric, and then they just keep hitting you with this and hitting you with that, but you're not learning how to implement. You know what I'm saying? You're not learning how to really implement and practice your deen, but you know how to say, you know how to repeat. Oh, I'm on some Jawad Tardil. And this why I'm going to say this right here. Because I've done it. Oh, you doing some Jawad Tardil, huh? Put some isnads in front of them. Bust out Sahih Bukhari and then run down. Say, break down every person in this isnad for me. Well, you talking about you doing Jawad Tardil? Tell me they date of birth. Tell me was they strong or weak when they got older in their life. Huh? If you can't do none of that, or even a portion of it, you're not doing Jawad Tardil. At least not the science. Yeah, you may be on the English word level of it. You may be calling yourself praising and criticizing, but your praising and criticizing is not just, because you're only praising the people in your group even when they wrong. And then anybody who's not in your group, they worthy of criticism even when they right. That's his beer. But man, let me get up off of here, man. It's Raja, you know. Alhamdulillah. Y'all get y'all D's in, man. And Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.